Okay, I'm just setting up the live stream. I think we're just about there. Okay, so Inibuilds came out with scenery for Trenton Mercer Airport in the US recently for Flight Sim 2024. So I thought we'd go and have a look at it. I just checked the volume levels before we get going. So yeah, the volume's looking fine. I'm going to turn the simulator volume up for the moment just so you get to hear the background noises around the airport as we look around it. So in the drone camera mode at the moment, we're going to go and fly down towards the entrance to the airport and go and have a look around it. So you can see straight away there are various bits and pieces of scenery that have been put in place around the airport. It's bizarre, isn't it, how real some of this looks? I mean, obviously those are probably real rocks that were photographed at some point for the AI to use, but it is uncanny how good it's getting. So you can see where the scenery starts in the road, so we've suddenly got very high quality road textures and telegraph wires. So just out of interest, let's go and have a look at them. So yeah, it's an insane level of modelling, isn't it? It's quite amusing when you see this sort of level in the simulator. You know, odd corners of the scenery that no one's ever going to look at. So we come in customer entrance. So I get the feeling this has been converted from an earlier version of the airport because the trees are not quite as good as the actual flight simulator trees. But we've got some nice details here around the airport, bits of sculpture. There's another one over here. Let's go and have a look at it. So obviously people who've actually been here will probably recognise these sculptures. So we'll walk along the footpath here, come into the airport at Trenton Mercer. It is amazing, isn't it, when you see things like this and you see the detail or the effort that the developers have gone to. So we can come in through the doors and have a look around. It's crazy, isn't it? So you've got the self-check-in machines. I have no idea where I'm going, by the way. I've not looked around inside the building at all. So if I get lost, don't be surprised. So we've got security. Let's hope we don't set the sensors off. And the bathrooms. Sky Lounge Cafe. So let's go quickly whiz back round. I want to go and see what else is inside the building that we haven't seen yet. So we're going to fly like Superman up through the concourse and I'm going to go upstairs. How they go about building these three-dimensional structures, I have no idea. They must have architecture or architect skills, I guess. I can't even imagine how you work on a complicated 3D structure like this. So obviously there's a bar here, lots of seating, no people around. I'm guessing to save frame rate, or they're just not licensed, because I think the figures you see in the scenery tend to be third-party libraries. Let's fly out through the window. There's lots of railings and furniture around, which always makes it look a little bit more real, doesn't it? It's very cool. Okay, so let's go and have a look around. Should we go over to the control tower? Someone taxiing across the grass over there. So control tower's nicely done. Again, no figures around, but the screens have got stuff on them, which is good. Looks a bit made up though. Not going to be too hard on them because, I mean, who comes in here and expects to see anything detailed or accurate? So come out onto the balcony and have a look at what's taxiing around. Okay, so over this side of the airfield you've obviously got a load of hangars. So we're going to go and quickly whiz over and have a look. I don't think any of them are open. They're just static structures. Obviously some sort of development going on this side. Lots of pipes and hardcore around. We fly across the taxiways over to general aviation parking. So you can see our little DA42 that we're going to be flying today is parked out over here. So a few Cessnas dotted around and some parking areas and logistics buildings of one description or another. I have no idea what these companies are that have these various hangars. Probably service hangars for local aviation companies, I would imagine. Cantilever roof there. It's always interesting, isn't it, seeing this sort of stuff. So, on the far side of the airfield, there seems to be... Is this just more parking lots? Looks like it, doesn't it? But is that for the airfield, or is that for somewhere else? I'm guessing there's a shuttle bus system or something. Anyway. It's another hangar. So this one has writing on. Let's go and have a look. The Army National Guard, New Jersey. Aviation Support Facility. There we go. And then the other side's another hangar with writing on. We're going to have a look at it, find out what it is. Flight Serve, yeah, so there's lots of service and logistics companies around. But it's amazing that they've built it all into the airfield, isn't it? So they've even built some of the structures, you know, in nearby roads that butt up to the airfield. FBO, I wonder what that stands for. Down towards the end of the airfield. Again, they've built houses looking to the airfield scenery to make it more accurate when you're on approach or departure. So you get to see the buildings that are really there. Okay, let's head back over towards our little aeroplane then. So there's obviously the parking lot for the terminal building. So we already saw the terminal, if you remember. If we go and have a look, you can see in there, look, the multiple levels with all the tables. So we're going to get our little DA42 ready and do a lap of the airport in the air, have a look at it, and then we're going to head off towards New York City to go and have a look around. So here's our wonderful little aeroplane for the day, the DA42 TDI. So this is the one with the more advanced engines where you don't have to worry about fuel pumps or anything like that. So Shift and X would put us back in the normal external view mode, So then I will press backspace, which will put us inside the aeroplane. And we can work on getting it ready. I'm just going to make sure I've got the quadrant set to. So yeah, it's got a FADEC throttle system. So all of the mixture and propeller and everything is all done for you. So literally, and you can see the fuel control switches are advanced already. Don't have to worry about that. I haven't got a checklist in front of me, but I have written a checklist up for this in the last 24 hours. So this aeroplane is really straightforward. Compared to the DA40, it's really, really straightforward to fly. So we're going to go and put the electric master switch on. And then we're going to go and switch the second screen on. We can go to engine, which will show the engine gauges. We can go and put the strobe light on because we're about to start the engine. And it's really, really straightforward. So we go and switch the engine on. You can see there it pulls up the numbers on the screen. It also throws an alarm because we're not generating electricity from it yet. So we can then just go and start that engine. So I'm going to crack the throttles open. I don't think I actually need to. I'm going to anyway. There we go. So yeah, we've got about 1,000 RPM now, that's perfect for it to warm up. So let's do the same with the left engine. Okay, we're not going to do the pitot heat until we get out to the runway. So now we've got the engines running. To prevent any surges, we can go and put the avionics master switches on. And you'll see the second radios come up in a moment. Go put position lights on as well while we're at it. So you can see the oil temperature that's already come up. Oil pressures are good. Running about 10% power on the engines, and the TORS test has now happened. Okay, so we'll go and calibrate the altimeter, so press comma, and that will do that for us. We're going to be VOR hopping on our way over to New York, so we're going to leave southwest from Trenton and then go over to the RBV VOR, so 11380. So let's go and get that tuned in before we do anything. So 11380 and switch that to active. We're in VOR mode, so it should, famous last words, maybe it won't, it hasn't got a signal just yet. We're 16 miles away, but we're at ground level. There might be trees or hills obscuring the signal. We'll find out in a moment. So we need to go and uncage the attitude indicator. I don't think I put that on the checklist, you know. I need to go and have a look at that. I might have to go and revise the checklist. So I'm just going to try something in this aeroplane. So we're at 10% throttle. I'm going to remove the parking brake. Do we start rolling? Yes, we do. So the parking brake in this aeroplane does work. It's been implemented slightly differently in the DA40, which is interesting. Okay, so we'll take the engine gauges back off for the moment. So we've got our map showing up there. We're not going to use GPS though. We're going to go, like I said, we're going to go VOR hopping. So TDI is a diesel. I'm not sure. So Martin is asking in the live stream chat, is the DA42 TDI a diesel? Really don't know. But the inlets look nice though, don't they, on the engine? It's a very, very pretty aeroplane. So let's pull the engines back to idle. And we'll put the taxi light on. So just looking at the airfield then, we're going to be taking off runway 24, so we need to double back. So we'll do left turn, follow the edge of the taxiway out. We should be good to go. So yeah, left turn. So we're going following this line here. So Alt 8 and then Alt 7 will put the head tracking in place. Parking brake off. Hopefully it's not going to get too dark on the way. Otherwise I may end up playing games with rewinding the weather slightly, or rewinding the sun to a little bit higher in the sky. Or we'll get to see a beautiful sunset while we're on the way. It's funny, isn't it, where you can see this has got quite a low resolution ground texture for the taxiways. Where things have moved on so much with Flight Simulator now, when we see anything that looks even a little bit low resolution, it just doesn't look right. And yet years ago, even 5 years ago, we would have thought that was perfectly acceptable. And yet now we expect things to look photographic wherever we look. So the signage is all really well done. So I'm going to bring us to a halt here for a moment. Have a look. So yeah, we're going to carry on left. So yeah, so various different points of the airport look. The textures are better or worse. What is that over there? Distracted there, looking at the pretty aeroplane that was parked up. So obviously I've got no traffic around, so we don't have to worry about anybody else. So we're going to put the landing lights on as we come out onto the runway. Obviously it's a huge runway, so we're not going to have any problems getting away from here. So let's go and set the heading bug the same direction we are pointing. We'll go and set the altitude, so say 2,000 feet maybe. For the flight. We'll go and put the pitot heat on now we're on the runway. And we'll go and pre-select heading mode on the autopilot. And we'll go. Slowly easing the throttles forwards. So we want about 75 knots to rotate with no flaps. 75, and it just gently comes away from the ground nice and smoothly, so gear up. So I pull the throttles back a little bit, it's about 75%. Coming up through 500 feet. So we're going to do a climbing turn to the left. That low sun does make the scenery look pretty, doesn't it? So we can see the heading bug marker there, so we'll know when we are on the reciprocal. From 240, well obviously it's 60 degrees, but it's nice to have it as an easy reference point there. Okay, so there we go, you can see the airfield. We just had the shopping arrive. I might have to go and stick this on autopilot and come back in a moment. So, what was the heading to the first VOR? We can work it out, can't we? If I do a slow right turn. Why is it always the way that as soon as I try to do anything, something else happens? I have to turn Head tracking off to do this. And they have made a real mess of the course, so yeah, it's difficult to control. So we're going to go nav mode, and I'm going to engage autopilot. So we're going to go in vertical speed as well. Ask it to go a couple hundred feet a minute just to take us up to 2000. Nav mode's going to intercept the VOR, and the airplane is going to fly us down the pipe towards. That's interesting. Look, so okay, we're asking it to go straight to the VOR. We actually want it to do this angle. Look, 109 degrees. So if we were to move the course to there, then the airplane will crab right, so it's going to come in and join that line on the way in. So I'll leave it doing that, and I'm just going to go and help out around the house for a moment, and I'll be back in a minute. I'm back. So what is going on with this? Oh, the airplane's having a bit of a mare, isn't it? Trying to do too many things at once this evening. So let's turn the autopilot back off. And we're going to get to do that orbit after all. That's interesting that it didn't pick up the track. Maybe it was because it was too much of an angle from it. So it carried on round. We'll find out in a moment. We'll have a proper chance to look at it. So I'm just going to straighten the view up and go back to head tracking. So we actually get this chance now to have a look at Trenton Mercer properly. So I'm going to pull the engines back to 50%. So I'm just side-slipping the nose out to the right so we can see out over the engine without turning too fast. And you can hear the airflow over the airframe. It's quite unsettling. It's like a low whistle. Let's have a look from outside. Okay, so you can see the angles coming in on the VOR now. It was probably just too much of an intercept angle for the autopilot to deal with it. They can't perform wonders. We often expect autopilots to be able to do all sorts of tricks, and yeah, it was beyond its capabilities there. So we're going to climb gently out to 2,000 feet again, bring the CDI in on the HSI, horizontal situation indicator. We go and turn the landing and the taxi lights off now. the engine back up. Coming up to 2,000 feet again. So if I engage autopilot again, now it's gone to roll hold look. That's interesting. Let's go nav. And it's gone VOR. So it should intercept. So it's gone for 45 degree-ish kind of intercept angle. It should turn left when it gets within 1 dot usually. Is it going to do it? Are we going to have to take over? Yeah, it's doing it. It's just not doing it very quickly. So it hasn't anticipated it at all. So it's probably going to fishtail around to stay on the... Oh, I don't know. It's getting it right. Yeah, maybe I would have turned earlier, but it's got it right. So we got a crosswind from behind us. 13 knots, 14 knots. So it's all looking good. Let's go and have a look at these engine instruments in the DA42 then. What do we get? So we get coolant temperatures, gearbox temperature. We get the fuel flow. The load, so I said 75% on my throttle, is showing a 74 in the aeroplane. So obviously it's managing the RPM for us. So it's actually spinning the propellers quite slowly, isn't it? Very clever. Yeah, so it's very simplified in this. You just have the go levers, basically. It's very, very straightforward to fly. It's a lovely, calm evening on our way out towards New York City. So we're going to be passing through the Robbinsville Vortac and then on to the Colts Neck VOR and then into the bay. So we'll go via the Statue of Liberty into the city and then have a quick look around. But I thought what we might do just for fun is once we've had a look around in New York, we'll come back out using it as a marshalling point. And then we'll head towards the Dials waypoint as an entry point, basically to do the expressway approach into LaGuardia. Obviously, the expressway approach in a little aeroplane like this is really easy. It's a bit more difficult in a big plane. Okay, so we can see on the... I haven't got the DME on, have I? Let's go and put the DME on. So it's showing up. Nav 1, 113.8, 6.4 nautical miles. Let's see if we can play the game with this. So if I go flight plan and copy that flight plan, copy it to the clipboard, and then go to planner.flightsimulator.com. Sign in as me. Apparently there's some changes to it. We're not going to bother with them. We're going to paste this in as the route. We'll get rid of that bit of it and save. So does it understand the route? Yes, it does. Good. It's saying it's got an error parsing one of the waypoints. We're not going to worry too much about that. And we're going to save that route. And we'll call this Trenton. And save the plan. So that's put it up into the cloud for us. So inside the airplane now, we should be able to go tab on here and load the flight plan into here if it works. There it goes, and it's got the custom references, which is really good. So the trick being then, we can send this to the avionics suite. Will it work? I don't think it's worked, has it? No. It was worth a go. But at least we can see it on this tablet if we want to. There's a lot of aeroplanes around, aren't there? So we are coming in towards 2 miles outlook from the VOR. So we want to depart here on 77 degrees, heading off to the next one. So let's go and spin our course round to 77 degrees. And we can get the next frequency ready on the nav radio. So we want 11540 as our next station. So it's 115 and 40 on the decimals. So distance between here is 16 miles. The range on the next one is 40 miles. So we should be well within range. So if we just switch frequencies, there's the next one. So notice this has gone to roll mode. This is rather interesting. It shouldn't have done really, but we can go nav mode and it's close enough that it will just crab across to the CDI. So it's just correcting that turn. So it should immediately turn left again, and it's doing that, look. Very good. Let's look outside. It's a pretty aeroplane, isn't it? The light's actually working. So we've got the strobe and the position lights on. They don't appear to be that bright. Oh yeah, they are blinking. Should we try the landing lights to see what they look like? So if I jump back inside, so where do they... Oh, it comes out from underneath, look. There it is. So I'm presuming the taxi light is the other side. Yeah. There we are. So, Sabine is asking, does this aircraft not have pilots in the cockpit? No, the COWS aircraft don't, and I'm not sure why. It would be wonderful if they did. But to be honest, I spend most of my time in the cockpit anyway, so... The only reason I ever go to the external view is to show people. If I'm just flying along on my own, I never go to the external views. I'm usually... And if people weren't watching, I would just be sat looking at this all the time. You know, and focusing on the route and the distance and the angles and so on and so forth. So we've got 9 miles to run. We're just doing VOR navigation because it's more fun, to be honest. When all the VORs get decommissioned, it will be a sad day. Should we open the engine up a little bit? Take it out to 85%. You can see the speed creeping up. Okay, so you can see the water out ahead of us. So that's obviously the bay here. We'll be turning out over Sandy Hook Bay in a moment. And then following our way through into Upper Bay towards New Jersey. This is Sandy Hook Bay just over here. Six miles to run until we get to the VOR. So you may get to see New York as the lights come on in the evening if the sun goes down enough. Should we have a look on the external view? Yeah, the sun's getting pretty low, isn't it? Okay, 4 miles to run until the VOR. So we could go heading mode, or centre the heading up I should say, put the autopilot on heading mode, and then we can play games with the course. So with 3 miles to run, we want to change the course to 28 degrees out of here. So we're going to spin the course round. I'm just going to turn head tracking off so I don't move my head unintentionally. So we want 28. So obviously we get to see the CDI as that happens, and we could spin the heading round and have a go at seeing if we can do better at this than the autopilot did. So we're 1.5 miles away from the VOR. So you can see it counting down here, and you'll see the CDI suddenly swoop in if we get this wrong. So 1.2 miles. We're 1 mile away. Point 9, 0.7. I'm going to start the turn. The VOR is now behind us. We've passed it on the right. And here comes the CDI. Yeah, we've overshot it, look. I was trying to be too clever then. So we'll just set the heading bug the other side of the HSI and wait for it to come back in. And here it comes. Obviously there's a wind that's pushing us away from it as well, so it's interesting that we are so easily getting back to it. Although that's a factor of us moving away from the VOR station, so the angle is becoming more acute the further away we get. Therefore it looks like the CDI is coming in. We may be getting no closer to the line, but we're close enough now to go to nav mode. And yeah, the aeroplane's actually going to steer gently in towards it, only a tiny amount. Okay, yeah, we only overshot it a tiny bit, look. So we're on our way towards the Apple waypoint. Then we fly in over the, what's it called? The Verrazano Narrows Bridge. And then we're into Upper Bay, and you should see the Statue of Liberty out in front of us. So there's Upper Bay over there. So, oh, my dad's arrived in the live stream chat. I thought he would have been flying with Maya this evening. Oh, they've probably finished by now, haven't they? I would have been flying with Maya this evening, only I didn't finish chores and stuff until well past 8 o'clock when their flight usually starts. And we've not quite lost the sun, you can still just see it. So I wonder what that is in the water. Is it marked on the map? Oh, it must be this. There's some piers out there by the look of it. Yeah, you can see them now, and they're a little bit closer. Obviously there's some on-demand drawing going on here where it's not going to draw the whole thing until we're a bit closer to it. That's interesting, I've never noticed that before. Could you do this flight in real life? That's a really good question. Well, you just need to look at the airspaces in real life to see, you know, what's allowed in the various sectors and what classes of airspace there are. So you can show it sort of in LittleNavMap. It gets really kind of congested though. If you were to load a Navigraph, that has a view of it as well. So if we go and do a new flight and paste our route in, so there we are going out across the bay, and yeah, so I've got this showing at the moment the VFR charts, but we can show the FAA sectionals, and again it's a real mess. But you get to see, I'm not too what's the word, familiar with how these are drawn, but the colours will have meaning for the different sector boundaries and what, you know, the restrictions are around them. And it's, yeah, obviously there's no key on this to show what the sectors are, because it's like a never-ending map in all directions, whereas a real one would have a key down the corner of it. But in LittleNavMap you can hover over, or if you click on an empty area while you're showing sectors, you can actually see the airspaces listed out with the altitudes they're at and what class they are. So Class E is commonly called everyone. Then you've got obviously the Class B and so on, which are the more restricted airspaces, and then obviously you get military ones as well. But you can see the route along the river has got several, so it's a Class B, it's got minimums and maximums. It's a shame, I've had a look around online to see if anyone's done, because these are all public information, the sectors, you know, or areas then. I've looked online to see if anyone's done a three-dimensional rendering of the airspaces in the real world, because I think it would be fascinating to be able to look around. I know you can do it in Google Earth, you can get the KML files, and you can simulate doing it. So you can see obviously the city's out in front of us now. It's a shame this bridge isn't drawn properly, isn't it? So SkyPilot is facing the same problem that I've seen countless other people encounter, and I encountered something similar very early when I installed 2024. So 2024 works differently. All of the key mappings are different. So your best option is to learn how it works, not to try and turn it into something else. Because I tried and I failed, and I just bit the bullet within the first hour and said, okay, forget everything we've done before. Forget all the profiles that do 2020 versions, because you'll run into problems with those with career mode almost immediately. And I did. So yeah, forget all about what key mappings you had before, what configurations you had before. You're starting over with 2024. And the sooner you do that, the happier you'll be. So let's turn the autopilot off. And we're going to go down towards Ellis Island. As it gets darker, we should get a very pretty New York as it lights up for the evening. See, some of the lights are already coming on in the suburban streets. So as we get closer, we should start to see lights on the buildings, I imagine. It's just at dusk at the moment, isn't it? The lights are just switching on in the roads, look. So, yeah, people seem to think that the airspace is super restricted around cities. It's not. Otherwise, the news helicopters wouldn't be able to fly around. And you get light aircraft flying up and down the rivers all the time. And, you know, there's lots and lots of airports around here as well. So you'll get traffic all the time. Obviously, they'll be in constant communication with various towers or centre controllers, but doesn't mean you can't fly around here. You know, so many people will be commuting again across Long Island and to the city and back. A bit bumpy. I'm not helping it by coming barreling in here at such speed, but the torch is lit up in the early evening light. It's quite nice, isn't it?
Check gear.
Okay, so let's go clockwise around the city. Let's go and have a look. We'll stay over the river. Fly over the bridges along the way. So I wonder if all the lights will come on at the same time in the buildings. So Sabine's saying you'd get 2 F-18s. You might do over Washington at the moment, obviously because the airspace was closed for the crash. It's probably reopened by now though, hasn't it? I have been reading the news this afternoon and the various mud flinging going on. I'm not even going to talk about what happened in Washington because it's such a divisive subject, and half of America will take one side, half of it will take the other side. They'll both hate each other and fling as much muck as they can to see how much they can make stick. And it's not very it doesn't do anybody any good. Same thing happens over here, of course. I think it's probably the same all over the world. Everybody thinks that they're in the right and everybody else is wrong. It's often more complicated than that. Central Park. So as we cut back across, loop around, and we'll go out towards that marshalling point I was talking around in the bay. So we'll go back out towards Ellis Island, and then we essentially line up as if we were going into runway 04 at LaGuardia, but then we turn right. So before we get there, let's go and have a little look at the map just to clear our mind of what we're actually going to be doing. So we're just going to come back down the Hudson. And then just straighten this up before we... So we head back out to here, and then yeah, we should be able to see if so we're going to take this angle, so about 80 degrees, 85 degrees away from the Statue of Liberty until you can see 04 at LaGuardia. And when you can see that, you should be able to see the expressway, especially with it lit up at night. So we're going to descend as well. There's the aircraft carrier with all of the museum exhibits on it. So we want to overfly Statue of Liberty, or fly away from it about 85 degrees. And that will put us on course to cross the dial's waypoint on the map. So if we bring the range of this down as well. In the dark, it might actually be more tricky doing the expressway because you won't be able to see the water towers, or the gas towers, whatever they are. Accumulators, isn't it they call them? There's two circular or cylindrical towers which you use as your turning point to go onto the expressway normally. But with it lit up at night, you'll be able to see the expressway anyway. So we're going to do about a 100-degree left turn in a moment, 110-degree. I watched a documentary about the Statue of Liberty a while ago, or a few years ago now actually. I never realised it's got shackles around its ankles, because obviously it was a symbol of, you know, releasing slaves. That was part of the message. But interestingly, half the reason, or supposedly, half the reason it was put on such a high plinth was so people couldn't see that it had the shackles on its ankles, to avoid the conversation. Okay, so we're a little bit low. So I'm going to put us back up to 1,500 feet at least. So we're 85 degrees, and we're looking out left. What's the wind doing? Pushing us a few knots to the left. So that aircraft over there is probably going into LaGuardia on either to runway 04. So if we go and have a look on the map, we can see what we're doing. Look, we're heading pretty much where we wanted to be going. So in a few moments we'll be able to look left and see 04 lit up. So can we see dials over here? Yes, there it is. There's the runway. Just keeping an eye on altitude, because we will need to start descending as well. Obviously we have much more room to do it in this. We're going to see other traffic possibly doing the expressway because of the wind direction. So here's the towers, yeah? And there's the expressway. So normally you'd be coming along here and flying exactly where you saw the aeroplane. Where's he gone? There he is. And you get to here, he's not doing expressway. He would have turned right and gone down this road, look. So this is the expressway. We're going to carry on straight down now. We're going to drop to 1,000 feet as we fly along the expressway and continue descending as we turn. So there's a water fountain in the park that we use as a visual reference point for our turn, and obviously the stadium over on the corner, which you'll see when we get closer to it. This is much easier in a little aeroplane. When you're doing this at 180 knots in a Boeing or an Airbus, it's a little bit more stressful, and you don't have quite as much time. So we'll put our landing lights on. So what we're going to do essentially is fly around the back of the stadium and the water and land there. So obviously in the big jets you end up skimming these buildings as you come in and straightening up at the last moment. There's videos of this approach. It's the expressway runway 31 approach into LaGuardia. If you go and search YouTube for it, you'll find lots of real-world videos of pilots doing it. So here comes the fountain. So we're a little bit high. But like I said, we've got a lot more time to manoeuvre than the big jets do. Okay, so we start our turn, descending turn, gear down. And we just carry on turning and judging it, looking at the runway, looking at speed, looking at configuration. It's much more fun in the big jets like the 747s and things like that. It's almost a challenge to see if you can do it. Or in an A300 or A310 or... Like I said, I've come in a little bit high, but I get a lot more time to correct that in a little aeroplane. Of course, the likelihood of a DA42 coming into LaGuardia on the main runway is very, very remote. That wind is there was a 13 knot crosswind there. I didn't really factor for that. Let's get back on the centre line while we're rolling. I'm going to roll quite fast. Obviously it's got high speed exits because it's a big airport, so we can just roll. Obviously we're not dealing with ATC either, which lessens our workload even more. Oh look, there's a scenery bug going on here. There's half the terminal is missing. That's quite amusing. We've got some gates in mid-air. And some AI traffic appearing and disappearing. So we're going to go and turn our landing lights off, just use taxi lights. Go and see who else is around. But yeah, I absolutely would urge anybody who's fascinated or interested in difficult approaches, have a go at the LaGuardia Expressway runway 31 approach. It's great fun. I think it's Expressway 31 Visual it might be named as, just from memory. There's a whole building missing there, isn't there? In 2020 I had the LaGuardia scenery. I haven't got it in 2024 yet. I'll have to address that one soon. Because the modern terminal, it has been rebuilt in recent years. It's got very, very modern terminal buildings at LaGuardia. Just noticed him at the last moment. There's another one queuing up, look out there in the sky, he's on approach. So we're going to get off the active runway as fast as we can. Queuing up to come in. We'll go and park over by this building over here. Okay. So, how do we go about turning the engines off on this thing? Easy. So, we can turn the lights off now, and the avionics master switch. Go and turn the internal lights down. And power off, and we're back to our head torch. See one of the ones that just came in, or is he taxiing out to take off maybe? If they're using this as the active runway, would make sense, wouldn't it? I'll just stay out of their way. So there you go, that was good fun. So the main reason for looking at this tonight was to go look at Trenton Mercer. But yeah, we were so close to LaGuardia I couldn't resist it, and we came and flew over. So this is just stock traffic in the simulator, there's nothing special running. This is the live traffic. So it will be simulating the real world traffic that's flying in and out of the airport. You can see there's stuff coming from that direction as well, which is interesting because we just had something come in from the other end. Which seems very unlikely, unless they've just switched directions on the runway. But these guys look like... Oh no, he's parked. Maybe they have just... Because it was a crosswind. So I'm not sure how the simulator deals with that. And it's been swirling around the wind all afternoon. There's one more just coming in, look over the water there. On finals right now. And there's another one behind him. So yeah, I think they've just switched over then to coming in this way. It's a new thing, isn't it? Plane spotting in Flight Simulator. He can't long have crossed that runway before he came in. That's going to break a few laws, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed that this evening. That was good fun. So this was the COWS DA42, which you can get from Orbex. And we saw Trenton Mercer Airport, which you can get from Inibuilds. There's a link in the notes of the video. And now we're sat at LaGuardia, plane spotting. You can see, look, there's one there, one there, one there. You can see the traffic pattern of them coming in on the standard terminal arrival route. That's interesting, isn't it, to watch that? Anyway, you can sit and watch this all night, or I could. I'll see you all again soon. Take care.